are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more.
Hi everybody, this is Will Bowen. I am at the Arizona Biltmore Resort in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a beautiful place. Once again, I'm really grateful for what it is I get to do. This afternoon, I'm going to be speaking to about 150 conference planners. So today may lead to a whole lot of additional speakers. So I'm really excited about this, event planners rather. This morning, we're going to talk about what I'm calling not giving a mental inch. We've talked a lot about the importance of controlling our own minds in situations, and that our minds are almost always the problem. Our thoughts, what it is that we think. It's not the thoughts so much, it's the story that we attach to the thoughts, the narrative that we give to the thoughts. And then we begin to believe the story that we ourselves have created. Do you get that? You create the story and then you take the story as gospel. That would be like writing a nonfiction book and then writing a fiction book and telling everybody it's a true story. But that's what we do. And so I want to talk with you about what I'm calling not giving a mental inch. And that means that when you are encouraged to begin to create a story, by the way, isn't this beautiful here? When you have a thought and you begin to create a negative story, you need to stop yourself and not give that mental inch. Because what I have found is that once you begin to give a mental inch, then it gets more and more and more difficult. Lisa says, my mind is my own worst enemy. Trust me, that is true for all of us. Our minds are our own worst enemy, and yet that it is our minds that take us to exactly where we want to go. Kathy says it's a pretty location. She's right. It's going to be 104 here today. What I've noticed is that traveling is the thing that wears me down. It wears everybody down. Grateful for my happy memories, says Karen. By the way, what are you grateful for? I forgot to ask you about that. I'm grateful for the chance to have spent a couple of days with my daughter. Lisa Robinson Snabes is here. Good to see you. What I've noticed is that when I travel, there are a lot of inconveniences, no matter what you do. I paid to get TSA pre-check so I don't have to wait in line. I also just signed up for Clear. If you haven't heard of Clear, Clear allows you to walk up to the TSA area and then they scan your retinas and then you're escorted to the front of the line. Kathy says, grateful for my morning walk and exercise. That's nice. And what I've noticed is that I can do all these things to make travel more and more convenient, but there's going to be stressors. Yesterday, as I was leaving Kansas City, I lived in Kansas City for 20 years. I have never seen the airport as crowded as it was yesterday. Every single seat was taken in the terminal where I was, and there were hundreds of people sitting on the floors and standing around. So it was difficult to get around. And I've discovered that the moment I start to take offense or to consider something like this to be a snub or that it's going to mess up my day, then immediately Hey, I can't believe I don't think I've ever sneezed in the middle of a jump start. That was a first. Excuse me. Usually they come in pairs. What I've discovered is that the minute I start to take that, how dare this happen to me, approach in my mind, then it becomes easier to take other things as affronts and irritations. Yesterday, when I was sitting there and all those people, thank you, Lisa. Lisa says, bless you. As I was sitting there and watching all these people on the floor and having trouble getting around, okay, all well and good if you have all right, we're going to block this person because we don't allow cursing in this channel. And yeah, I won't even get into whatever it is your issues are. The point I'm making is that the second you begin to allow yourself to take affront or get irritated, then it gets easier and easier and easier to get irritated in the future. I've done so many of these speeches, and some of the clients are so on the spot. They've got everything taken care of, et cetera, and others usually are overwhelmed with so many things that they let things slip through the cracks. And what I've discovered is that, all right, you know, I have never, this is an interesting morning, I have never had anyone act like this during a JumpStart before. That's what happens when you're in a public forum. Is that once you begin to take offense at what is going on, your mind begins to look for more things to be offended about. In the airport, with people, etc., or upset or irritated. The moment you begin to give a mental inch, then you begin to slide. It's like you're standing on solid ground that's level, but the minute you begin to allow your mind to focus on what is wrong, what is negative, etc., then you begin to slip, and it's like the ground beneath you begins to crumble, and all of a sudden you're standing on a hill. So what I invite you to do is to set these barriers in your mind and to prepare yourself when you know you're going to go into a stressful situation. My daughter and I were talking about these speeches that I've been doing, and especially now with things just opening up right now, there are a lot of challenges. Normally people would have their systems and everything in place a little bit better, but this is not to discount their efforts. About 70% of the people at the resorts where I am going to speak, 70% of the people have been newly hired to their jobs. They've either been hired back because of the pandemic. I've got mosquitoes biting my legs. They've either been hired back because of the pandemic, or they're new because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of things, and if you begin to go, well, here's another thing, if you begin to count what is wrong, you'll never run out of what is wrong. If you begin to count what is right, you'll never stop counting what is right. There's always more to focus on that is going good and going well than there is to focus on that is bad or challenging. And once we start moving our mind in a certain direction, it goes in that direction. It moves in that direction. Let me see if I can do something here. Nope, not allowed to do that right now. We'll take care of that. Once you begin to move in that direction, your mind moves in that direction. You achieve momentum. That's why I've shared with you the importance of running through your mind things you're grateful for. I often will use my mala, my prayer beads, and just count off things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And after I get to 108 things that I'm grateful for, my mind doesn't stop. It continues to look for things that I'm grateful for the rest of the day. Now, once I begin to look at things that are challenging, once I begin to look at things that are problematic, once I begin to attach my energy to this should not be the way this should be, then I'm going to move in that direction as well. So what I invite you to do is to become aware. You know where you want your mind to go. And when you get into a stressful situation, whether it's going to be around family, whether it's going to be around work, etc., establish where you want your mind to be. There's a guy whose music I really like, a musician, his name is Trevor Hall, and he does a song called Maintain Internal Heights. Let me say that again. Great song, check it out. Maintain Internal Heights. In fact, we'll make that our song of the day. Look it up today. It's by a man named Trevor Hall, H-A-L-L, and it's Trevor Hall, H-A-L-L, and the song is called Maintain Internal Heights. We all have this capacity for making a choice, and then we reach a point where that's it, I've had it, that's enough, and then we begin to flip. And once we flip, we're caught. We need to realize that it is our mind, and that once we establish where it is we want to be, we just don't give a mental inch. We just don't allow someone, something, this person who keeps cursing in today's JumpStart, we don't allow that to bother us, because we realize that our minds are our minds, and we get to control them. And the second this is over, everything this person has posted is going to be deleted and blocked. So anyway, just think about that today. Remember that when something happens, our mind begins to build stories, and then it begins to create patterns. It begins to look for patterns with other situations to say, well, this means this. This is why we run into this issue on Mondays. You get up on a Monday and you go, oh, it's a Monday, and something goes wrong, and you say, oh, yeah, of course. Well, the reason that it went wrong is it's Monday, as if that's the day of the week. And then we create that story and we begin to look for patterns. What we need to do is to be careful of what we're saying in our minds, and then to be able to not allow ourselves to cross over, not to be goaded over a line, not to be irritated over a line, etc., etc., etc. Yesterday I got into Uber, and Uber is really, really serious about wearing masks. Before you get in, you're supposed to check a box that says, I will wear a mask the entire time. When I'm picked up, while I'm riding, etc. You have to check this little box or they won't assign a driver to you. And ironically, the driver showed up yesterday without a mask. And I had a challenge with that. And inside I decided, okay, what is it that I can do? Well, one of the great things about Uber is you get to rate every drive and say what you thought about it. So I gave the guy the number of stars I thought he deserved. Because he was a really good driver otherwise. And then what I chose to do was to say that he wasn't wearing a mask. Just let somebody know, but not get upset about it. Remember, complaining always has this how dare this happen to me energy to it. How dare this happen to me energy to it. I mean, everybody who does live feeds and podcasts and things like that gets people who come on and who want to, just act out. And so when that happens, you just decide whether or not you're going to allow that to challenge you. And the same is true in every area of your life. I remember that one of my teachers when I was in ministerial school, Linda, I think was her name. Anyway, she talked about the chaos in her family, and she said that her goal was, whenever she was around the chaos, was to be the peace in the midst of the chaos. I am peace in the midst of chaos. And that was her mental line. And she had to hold that mental line. She had to never give a mental inch, and that's the challenge. Once we begin to give that mental inch, it gets easier and easier. The first inch is hard. The second inch is easy. I was giving this example to my daughter the other day. We were walking around, and I bought us a box of peanut M&Ms for the three of us to share. And I said, you know what? Eating the first M&M, that's the hard thing for me, because I try to stay healthy. I don't eat a lot of candy and stuff like that. But man, once I've eaten one M&M, I'm good. I'm going to start my hands in the bag. And I'm sure you can relate to that. The same is true for your mind. Once you allow your mind to go into certain areas, your mind is going to be more likely to go there. So keep your mind in areas that are positive, that make you feel good, that create the world that you want to live in. Because that world does exist. Also, the scary, irritating, angry world exists too. But you get to choose, because you're creating the story in your mind. So today, give yourself some thought. Think about things that you've got to do or want to do, and prepare yourself mentally and make a decision that if this happens or that happens, whatever, then I'm not going to allow whatever is upsetting me to take me there. I'm the one. I hold the reins on my brain. Think about it that way. Think of your mind as a horse. I hold the reins on my brain. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me this morning. I am going to have another cup of coffee and do some journaling and then get ready for my speech today. And I look forward to being with you again tomorrow. Thanks for understanding that I couldn't do this live, but I'll do what I can when I'm traveling and bouncing around time zones. Enjoy today, everybody. Bye-bye.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more.